Hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and this is the Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast, brought to you in association with Kellys Centra, multi-award-winning store, Mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service, 7 days a week. You're welcome to week 2 of our championship look ahead and look back, because this weekend we will be looking back. First of all, many thanks to Kellys Centra here at the Mountaintop for their support. We really appreciate that. I'm joined by my three wise men again, John Haran, Francie, Friel and Chris McNulty. Last week we were looking forward to the Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Senior and Intermediate and Junior Championships. This week we're going to look forward to next week, but first of all we're going to look back. John, last week you said to me defensive football's all gone. Players are fed up with it, spectators are fed up with it, and then we went to Maharagal and saw a match which produced 12 points. What happened?
I know, Charlie. Well, I suppose from a neutral's point of view, Charlie, it probably was disappointing. It was a big game of the weekend, and we were expecting, a real big tussle between the two big teams in that group of death. When we landed to Maharagal, Charlie, it was wet, and there was that strong breeze that goes down to the far corner, so it was always going to be difficult. But I think just whatever way, St. Eunice were set up, they were setting out their stall to be aggressive and be defensive and get good shape. And they made it hard for Gweedore. But in saying that, Charlie, 20 minutes gone in the first half, I was going off my head because I thought our boys were standing off them too much.
Yeah.
They weren't pushing out. Gweedore were going over and back midfield, no pressure on them. We were waiting for them to come in, and I suppose once they came in, we were effective enough in the turnovers. But then we were slow transitioning up the field, which allowed Gweedore to get 12 men, 13 men behind the ball. So it was kind of a stalemate, Charlie. I don't know if teams went out to play that way. I suppose if St. Eunice hadn't as many men back, Gweedore maybe would have kicked it into Kevin Cassidy more, and Owen McNeil's was playing at 11, and they probably would have went down that route. But St. Eunice clogged up the middle and got a lot of men back. That forced Gweedore to go over and back and slow down the game. And then when St. Eunice got the ball, Charlie, I thought we were cagey enough. We had a lot of young players. There was 4 boys there making their debut yesterday. They're young, they're light, and I presume that they were told not to go into the tackle because, let's face it, Gweedore are a strong physical team there. Big men. So if you go in, Brian McIntyre, young James Kelly, Owen McGeehan, they're only young lads. They're finding their feet. They're good players. But if they go into a tackle with Neil McGee, Eamon McGee, Niall Ferry, these boys, it's going to be very hard for them to retain possession. So I think, you don't know what goes on in the camp, Charlie, but I would say they were told not to go into the tackle, keep recycling the ball, keep holding it, and that just slowed up the St. Eunice attack, allowed Gweedore to get men back, and that was kind of the way it went, Charlie. When St. Eunice did they go 2-1 up, or was it 2-2? And then
it was 4-2 then at half time, then 6-2 then.
Yeah, we got a bit of momentum before half time, and we pushed up on their kick out, and we put Christopher Sweeney under pressure, and we won them kick outs. And we've got Darren Mulgrew had that big point from out the field, and Niall O'Donnell had a couple of good, and we got it free, and 4-2 up. But I thought we were too late pushing on in the first half. That was maybe with 7 minutes to go. You could see a bit of urgency coming into our lads. But with that breeze, I thought we should have been a wee bit more up. Yeah. And then in the second half, Jerry, we started well. We got the 2 points, went 6-2 up with a great chance for a goal. Niall came on the run, and Brian Mack was with him. Maury Calvin made a great run too. I think was it Eamon McGee that got back and made a great tackle. In fairness to him, when Niall was about to pull the trigger, even if I had got a point there, go 7-2 up, I think Gweedore were in trouble. But no, I suppose, Jerry, from a scoring point of view, yes, it was disappointing. 1-3 to 6 points for the the big Gweedore. And when you think of what Gweedore did last year and the football they played and the scores they put up, 117 in the county final and 3 whatever against Crossman again, big scores. So I suppose they'll be disappointed. Gweedore weren't at the races yesterday, Jerry. They were very lethargic. But listen, they got away with a draw. I mean, it's a kick up the backside, getting the weekend up, and
Yeah, Francie, key thing, they got a draw. I mean, the goal was fortunate. Kevin Cassidy might say it was a pass. I think he was going for the point, but they needed a goal. If they hadn't got the goal, they weren't going to get anything out of that game.
No, that's for sure. The goal definitely brought Gweedore back into it. St. Eunice, I thought St. Eunice played brilliantly. I thought they mirror image Gweedore, what Gweedore are doing. They got the matchups right. Got bodies behind and made it kind of frustrated Gweedore. I think St. Eunice kind of left it behind enough chance to win the game. And just with a goal, Cian Mulligan got away down the middle and just, he just squared it. And as you say now, we cast the pass. I don't know if it was a pass or going for a score or whatever, but I just think Eunice still had enough chances to win it. They went up, they were 6-2 up at one stage. I think if they'd pushed on and got another score, I was saying to John during the game, I was saying, I can't believe they brought off Rory Carr. Like, they had no outball. You know, they'd play him a wee small men up front, and you like Gidor, very physical. I thought, you know, they should have had someone big man edge of the square. Probably brought off Rory Kavanagh because he was booked, you know, and maybe it was last warning. But even stick him on full forward, kicking a ball inside. But for Gidor, probably it's a point gain for them. To me, St Eunan's, you know. No, to me it was a point lost for the Eunan's, you know. The grip's still wide open, but you know, just for the two teams, I think still the two teams will probably come out of the grip. But Gidor, it's a massive wake up call for them going forward. I thought, you know, the kick out situation was both teams got 50-50 in opposition kick outs, which is probably, you know, a good one. But just Gidor, probably it's a kick up there to need, you know.
Yeah. Statement by St Eunan's, Chris. I don't think anybody expected them to win there yesterday. We were always tipping them to come out of the group, but to go in there, playing the way they did, getting that result, and as Francie said, and maybe John alluded to as well, slightly unfortunate not to have got the victory.
St Eunan's have been a strange kind of thing. Like, I've seen them a few times this summer. I said it to John before we started last week. You didn't know where they were, because they were kind of, you seen them one day and you thought very impressive, seen them the next day and you thought, no, geez, I don't know. As John alluded to last week, St Eunan's needed to perform. St Eunan's needed to sort of go down and throw the gauntlet down to Gidor, and they did that by all accounts. And it probably says a lot about St Eunan's that they've gone to Maragallon and are coming back disappointed with a draw. You look at Gidor, what they done last year, they've only got 4 scores yesterday, which has to be a worry. It's like the old thing we said it for a few years with Donegal, when teams set up and mirrored their setup, we found that Donegal struggled. Probably the same thing yesterday for Gidor, which I find a bit strange. They were playing at home in their first game. Like, you could see it maybe last year if they played with the shackles on a bit, because so long since they won the championship, big pressure on themselves. You would have imagined what they'd done last year, that they would have been able to play with a wee bit more freedom or a wee bit more confidence.
Yeah.
To me, that was the big thing I took out of yesterday. There was still a sort of maybe a fear or something holding Gidor back, and you would wonder why. But for St Eunan's, it was probably a statement that, you know, look, we haven't gone away.
Yeah.
But just on that, you know, Gidor can only play what they're against. Like, Eunan's were dropping the bodies back. They couldn't do their game because the bodies are behind the 45. There was a big wind and they were going into it. And when you have bodies back, like, you just kick it in, you'll just give away the ball, and they're trying to keep possession, you know.
There were so many turnovers, John.
There was, Terry, exactly, and because I got clogged up in the middle, and there was really nowhere to go. And if you wanted to get a score, you had to break that line, you had to break the tackle, and unfortunately, players had to go into the tackle, and more often than not, they spilled the ball, because like St Eunan's, they had Rory Kavanagh back at 6, and Eamon Doherty was there, and McNeedis and Keenan Ward, Darren McGrew. St Eunan's are strong at the back, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we are strong at the back.
Morrison, I thought, was excellent.
Morrison was
yesterday.
excellent, and Conor Park and Keenan Ward, Aaron Deeney, young fella there, giving it everything. Like, we are strong at the back. A young midfield with Big McGilligan, who I thought did very well for his first championship game, like Conor O'Donnell. But up front, we're a wee bit light, Charlie. You know, we're small and we're light. They're young. Niall O'Donnell's good. Rory Carr, if he gets more direct ball, is effective. All the boys, they're good big players, but they're small and they're young, so it's going to take them time. But, you know, with the St Eunan's glasses on me, like, what I was so happy was that, first of all, they got stuck in, they gave it all, you know.
Well, that's what you said last week that you wanted to see from them.
And you know, when you take a step back, the end of the day, and you look at it, like, they went toe to toe with Gidor, who are a very experienced team, you know, and the fitness was there and the strength, and very well set up, and they were disciplined and didn't give away free. So they've obviously put a lot of work in, and you could see it there. And like, I played a wee bit for the reserves, Terry, at the end of last year. Like, but Sean McGilligan was on the reserves, Owen McGeehan, Brian McIntyre was only a sub on the reserves, James Kellys. That's 4 boys that made their championship debuts yesterday, that played reserve last year. Peter McAnuff, very young. Aaron Deeney, very young. So, you know, big step up for them. As I said, I seen them against Milford out in the park this year when they got beat in the league, and I was going off my head because it was an awful performance, and all them young boys says, "Oh, do nothing this year. How could you win anything with that crowd?" You know, getting beat. You know, like, they were very disappointed. But hands up to them, they were excellent yesterday, and just, you know, if they can keep it going.
If you were, I suppose, just on Gidor, if there's a big plus for yesterday was probably the return of Kieran Gillespie, because he was going very, very well last year, and he got that, you know, such a bad injury, and he was flying. And, you know, we've said at club and county level, none of us have seen the best of Kieran Gillespie yesterday. Came on as a sub. That has to be a huge plus to be bringing a player that calibre back into the ranks again.
Looking strong. Well, was it a point won or a point lost for St Eunan's? After the game, I spoke to Niall O'Donnell, and here's what he thought.
Listen, you can argue both, I suppose. You know, we had chances there to win the game, and arguably Gidor had chances to win the game as there as well. So, look, listen, Gidor's Ulster champions, and we came down here and got a point. So, you know, at the minute it looks like a good enough point for us.
Niall O'Donnell talking to me there. Let's move on to the other game in that section. I was over at Pearse Park in Ardra. After 7 minutes, the score was Ardra 2-3, St Michael's 1 point, Francie. We're going to hear from Colin McFadden a little bit later on. He was surprised when I told him there was only 7 minutes gone. I suppose in one way it was a good thing for St Michael's. It was still very early. They went then and scored 3-9 without reply, but they won't get away with that against a better side. And I'm not being disrespectful to Ardra, but once St Michael started running at them, it was they had Michael the Rock got a black card in the first minute. They conceded 2 goals. They could have conceded another goal. They were all over the place, and then all of a sudden they pressed the button and away they went.
Yeah, but I think our drag keeper played into their hands.
Yeah.
The first goal came from a kick out.
Bad kick out.
Bad kick out. He had a
3 out of the first 5 goals came from bad kick outs.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's when St Michael's were really aggressive on the Ardra kick out. They really punished them. They won all the 50-50s. The goalkeeper he was blown up one time for taking too long to get out, and he had nobody to kick it out to.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a very bad start for St Michael's. A very good start for Ardra, but Ardra couldn't build on it then when they got the lead. And once the goal went in from Colm Anthony, it was only going to be 1-1 then, and they just I think they just tore them to shreds. Then with just balls going inside, Colm Anthony as good as he is, just getting on the ball and kicking over handy scores. But Ardra made it very easy for them as well. And going forward, that the 4-18, they're not good 4-18 against Gweedore or against St Eunan's, so. Was a good result. They got off that one on start, but Ardra definitely played into their hands.
Yeah, is it the same thing with St Michael's that we've talked about so often in the past, Chris? The talent is there, but for some reason, and Francie alluded to it there, they've got a huge game coming up now at the Bridge next weekend, next Saturday evening, against Gweedore. If they won that, they're through to the quarterfinals. That's the reality of it. And they've got St Eunan's to come. If they won that, they'll probably be in the quarterfinals. So they've 2 big weeks ahead of them. Will they be able to, step up to the mark at this stage?
They're definitely capable, and the fact that they've got the 2 games at the Bridge, it's a notoriously hard place to go. And Francie mentioned, or John mentioned, the one in Maragall, the one in the Bridge as well. More often than not, a deciding factor in games down there. They know it obviously like the back of their hand. Going back to what John said about St Eunan's, a young up and coming team, and you don't know how they're doing. Look at the experience St Michael's have. 4 All-Ireland winners on the team on Saturday night. You add into that Mark Anthony McGinley and Michael Langan, who have played senior inter-county. Michael had a great year for Donegal this year. You look at that experience, they're definitely capable of beating one, or they're capable of beating both of those teams, but you just wonder about St Michael's all the time. Can they do it? That's always the big question about St Michael's. They're capable of doing it, and then will they do it?
Yeah.
It's 2 entirely different things.
Peter Withero was back in the team started. I thought he did very well on Saturday because he hasn't played much championship football in the last few years, but he gives them a physicality there as well, and they're going to need that now in the next 2 weeks, John.
Oh, absolutely, especially against Gweedore next week, and then St Eunan's. Yeah, they'll need all the physicality. Well, Peter's a strength and conditioning coach, and he's over in London, isn't he, Francie?
Yes,
so he keeps himself in good shape, and Peter was always a good player. So I suppose from St Michael's point of view, it's hard to know yet, Charlie, what way it's going to go. But are they plus 14? Is my maths right? Plus 14.
Yes,
so they've got a good score against Ardra. Do St Eunan's go out this week and think we have to beat Ardra by a big score, or do they just concentrate on trying to win the match?
Yeah.
Can all the permutations could come into it if Gweedore and St Michael's drew, or if Gweedore won, and then St Michael's and St Eunan's in the last game, and a draw might do St Eunan's, or even they could end up. Listen, that's way down, but you always have to watch the score difference because it can come.
For sure. Well, Martin Regan said that to me yesterday before the game, talking about draws and one thing and another, and he said he was talking about the group of death. He says you could have 3 teams and 4 points, so the score difference is going to be key, sort of thing.
So does it go between the 3 teams? Well, if there's 3 draws, what way does it go? And then does our draft fixture come into? So you have to watch everything.
Absolutely.
The groups are intriguing.
One thing about what St Michael's are scoring, but the other thing is they want to shut up shop against those 2 teams, because if they open the door for St Eunan's and Gweedore, they'll go through it. Like, they've conceded 2-10 against Ardra. Alright, 2-3 of that was early on. It was
7 minutes,
maybe a freak start at the start of the game, but still wouldn't want to be letting either of those 2 teams in for big scores.
Well, I spoke to Colin Anthony after the game, and he definitely got a bit of a shock when I told him that it was 2-3 to 1 point to Ardra, and there was only 7 minutes gone in the game. Here was his reaction.
Yeah, it was definitely not the start you want in the championship game. Ardra, we knew they'd come out all guns blazing, and we didn't expect to concede those 2 early goals and keep tied on a couple of points too. And, it wasn't an ideal start, but in fairness, we didn't panic and we kept plugging away, and I think we got a couple of points with frees, and we paid it back, and then I suppose the goals helped us get back into the game.
2-3 to a point after 7 minutes, which was an incredible start, really, wasn't it?
It's a tight scoreline now.
Yeah.
After 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Yeah.
But the only good thing it was early in the game, and it had plenty of time to get back into it. But thankfully we got a couple of scores, and we had a good probably middle 15 minutes in that first half that we tagged on.
And slagged on 3 goals. 3 goals, wasn't it? You got in the first half.
The goals are probably important. Like, it's going to take 8 points to take that back. Was a lot of kicking, and the goals helped us pull it back now, thankfully.
Colin Anthony McFadden. Right, let's move on now to the next group, boys, Group B. I was in Glenties, saw them beat Killybegs comfortably enough. Killybegs came back with a goal and a few points at the end. It looked at one stage early in the second half was going to be a cricket score. And then on Saturday evening, Chris, you were at McCool's Dunlow. The highest scoring game, 50 points they shared between them. Is that indicative of 2 bad defences or 2 very good forward lines? I know Oisin Gallen perhaps was the man that starred.
The second half got a wee bit, kind of one of those got a wee bit silly, because McCool's were going to win the match, and it was kind of one of those things. Then the team started to make changes, and there were scores just coming from every road. But yeah, the big highlight on Saturday night was definitely the performance of Oisin Gallen. I think after 12 minutes, Dunlow had 3 markers already on him, and they just, whatever they did, they couldn't stop him, and he was throwing them over right foot, left foot. Like, I think it was his first goal. The ball came in, and you're thinking most other players would have just took a step to the right and put the ball over the bar. You wouldn't have thought when the ball went in and the goal was on, but he's taken it into his chest, he's held off the man, took a few steps and fired it into the roof of the net. For a player so young, it was a real mature part of a move to take the ball and be backing himself to get the goal. But yeah, the defences definitely, both teams would be worried. If you're McCool's, you've put up a big score, but you've conceded 118 to a Dunlow team who aren't known for putting up big scores. Like, Dunlow are normally one of those teams that'll kind of grind out a victory 11-10, 10-9 kind of thing. Like, they don't traditionally put up big scores, and they've shipped 118 to them. It would be a worry for Bernard McGeechan, and is Oisin Gallen going to be able to kind of replicate that? I mean, he's now going to be a marked man after scoring 2-9 at the weekend. For sure.
And Francie, they go to Killybegs this week, McCool's, knowing if they won, they're in the quarter final.
Yeah, and listen, McCool's probably started out that they knew if they won their home game against Dunlow and away to Killybegs, beat them, they'll be in the quarter-finals. But you take that another way, Killybegs are playing Glenties, and they probably knew that was their game. Yeah. And the next 2 games now at home, and they'll be fancying them chances. I don't think McCool's will get 5-14 or anything near it against Killybegs at the weekend. I think it'll be a tight game. Killybegs play with bodies back. Oisin Gallen won't get the freedom of the park like Dunlow give him, it'll not be one-on-one marking, there'll be double sweepers and whatever else, They
mightn't let him out past the Killybegs down out to the far as the pitch, will they?
No, that's for sure. Listen, McCool's, it's a big score to get 5-14, but you conceding 118 in a championship game. It's a big score to be given away. I know when you're winning by so much things, people make subs and stuff like that there, and the game kind of filters out. But Killybegs are at home now in the 2 games, as we said earlier. Homes is a big thing. If you're home in your games, you kind of carries 2 or 3 points extra, and I think that's where Killybegs will get the result the weekend against McCool's.
Yeah.
I think McCool's will find it hard. Like Oisin Gallen got 2-9, and that's a big score. So I don't think get anywhere.
Sometimes it was enough to win several matches yesterday. The 2-9.
Exactly.
If you wanted, John. Niamh Connell, they didn't start well, then they scored 7 points in a row, then they conceded a couple of late points, then they had a great start to the second half. Bryn McDyer particularly, I was very impressed with him, but then they got slack again, and even Martin Regan said it to me in the interview afterwards. I'm not happy the last 15 minutes without Killybegs. Now, they were always going to win it, but they'll have to do better.
They'll have to do better, Charlie, but that's human nature. When a team's going well, it's very hard to keep going like that there. And I was listening to different reports from it, and I think Anthony Thompson maybe kicked 3 points from play.
He did. Two or three.
So listen, Charlie, we spoke last week about Glenty's quality, and they've all them players still there, and Big Kieran Gallagher, a handful of days to the square, and we talked about them trying to play a more expansive game and try and get more scores. Like a 115 is a decent score. Killybegs are a decent team, and as you say, Killybegs came with a late run. The game was well over at that stage, so all right, Martin Regan, sure, they'll want improvement, but Glenties are going to come out of that group comfortably, Charlie, and there are bigger tests await them, but they're going to be thereabouts, Charlie.
Yeah, Killybegs know now 2 home games, as Francie alluded to, John. They have to win the two if they're going to make the quarter-finals, so there's a big incentive for them. But coming off the back of that victory over Dunlow, and I think we all agree you'll not score 5-14. McCool's, after a very disappointing end to the league season, they'll go with a bit of confidence.
That's it, Jerry, you coming into championship last week, and all right, they'll have fancied themselves against Dunlow. That'll be their game that they would have fancied to win. So they've won that. They put up a big score. A lot of the players will have got a bit of confidence. Roshan Gallen scored 2-8. Other players came into it. Big Darren O'Neill there scored. So if you're a McCool's player now and Bernard McGeehan's at training this week, they're brimming with confidence again. Their tails are up and their chests are out. So they'll go to Killybegs with a wee bit more confidence than they would have had coming off getting relegated in the league. So the thing can change very quickly, Charlie. It can be funny. So McCool's are going to go there with a pep in their step. I'd say it'll be a very good game, Charlie. Everything's on the line because Killybegs know that they have to win it. McCool's know that this is a very good chance because they probably won't beat Niamh Conlon in their last game. So it's going to be a big game for them two teams, and that's I think it could be quite close.
After the game, our own Chris attended that game, the McCool's game, and he spoke to Bernard McGeehan, and Bernard made the point how important it was to win on Saturday night because, of course, that's their only home game of the championship.
For us to basically win tonight because it's our only home game for starters, so we're on the road next weekend to Killybegs and then away to Glenty, so we needed to give ourselves a chance, and we knew that that if we would have won or lost tonight would have been in the back foot and really kind of facing an upward task, but we've given ourselves a chance now and delighted with the performance, in fairness.
Bernard McGeehan there talking to us. Let's move on to Group C. This is the one with Glenfin, Glenswilly, Four Masters and Milford. We'll start with the Milford Four Masters one. That was on Saturday evening. Milford, Francie, getting over the line 14-10. I know that Danny O'Donnell wasn't particularly, Chris was talking, wasn't particularly happy with the performance, but I suppose they got the away victory, which is the key one and sets them up nicely.
Oh, definitely. And I suppose it's the first one in a senior championship for them. First one in a long time for them in the senior championship. So listen, it wasn't going to be easy. They won by the 4 points. They got the job done, and they're playing Glenfin this weekend, and that's the big game this week. And went up to Four Masters. Four Masters kind of lost the manager earlier on, and probably relegated too. Didn't help matters. Milford were relegated from Division 1 to 2, but Milford were probably with the forwards were always going to carry a threat, and that's what looks like it happened, Yeah.
John, you we fancy for Milford? Do you think they'll do well?
I've seen them a few times against our boys, Charlie, and as I said, they beat our boys in the league this year, and they were decent, you have to give them credit. As Francie, that's their first one in senior championship. I thought, they would have too much for Four Masters because Four Masters are going so poor at the minute. But I think looking at the team sheet, Milford, kept a couple of the normal starters were on the bench. Whether there was a bit of discipline problem or maybe Danny was laying down a marker, I just don't know. But if Milford can get all their players out, and I know Chris talked about trying to get Tony McNamee back, if Milford can get all their players out, they're a decent side, and I fancy them to come out of that group. And as Francie said, the big game is going to be the one against Glens. Is going to be the one against Glenfin this weekend.
Yeah.
They'll not that they'll fancy their chances, but they'll think that they'll have a better chance of beating Glenfin maybe as beating Glenswilly.
Yeah.
So
well, as Francie said, they're at home, and you have to take advantage of that, John.
So that's the game they'll be eyeing. So same thing, if they win, they're through to a quarter final, which is
big incentive
for them at home. So it's going to be a cliffhanger down in Milford at the weekend.
Yeah, you were up in Glenfin, Chris. Glenswilly got out of jail.
Yeah, they did. It's hard to, I spoke to Neil Gallagher after the game, and he used the word relief, and you just feel the relief from Glenswilly. 12 minutes to go, the game was over. Glenfin had it won, was in the bag, just a matter of closing the game out. Then Kieran Brady gets sent off, and the thing just unravelled from there. And there was a wee while where you were actually thinking, geez, Glenfin are actually fortunate to be hanging on, because Kieran Boner had a chance deep into injury time to win it, just healed off to the right hand side. Glenswilly, for how poor they were over 60 minutes, they still almost snatched the victory. But it was a day that you probably left, there's more questions than answers for Glenswilly. Glenfin really took the game to them. Stephen Carr was outstanding in the middle of the park. They couldn't handle the pace of Aaron McGlynn. Jared Ward was firing over frees to beat the band. And for me, there was a turning point in the game, not just the sending off. Jared was flawless with his frees, and he seemed to tweak the hamstring, changed the free taker. Aaron McGlynn popped a couple wide, and then they brought Jared back out to take one late on when they're kind of feeling the pressure, and he put it over, and you just kind of wonder if Jared had hit those, because he was really on form. They could have been out of sight. They hit the crossbar in the first half, and then Aaron McGlynn the first couple of minutes of the second half hit the base of the post. You know, they had really Glenswilly on the rack, on the ropes, and they just couldn't land the killer blow.
Yeah, Francie, Glenswilly, typical of them, looking down and out, coming back and getting a point, which could be very important for them now, because of course they have 2 home games to come, starting with Four Masters. Could it come down to them and Milford now in the final game, do you think, maybe for one in that group? We fancied Glenswilly to win that group, but they've dropped a point, and if Milford won on Saturday against Glenfin, they'll have some incentive going up to Glenswilly to win that group.
Oh, definitely so. And listen, I said, like, going up to Glenfin, it's not an easy place to go. We knew it was going to be tight. But I suppose Glenswilly got the draw. They got out of jail, and that's typical of Glenswilly. You know, they hang in tight and they got the draw. Like, they're still a dangerous animal going forward. You know, they've 2 teams now that they think they can beat Four Masters at home and Milford at home. They know they won them 2 games, they get out of the group, and then they get to a quarter final. You know, this time last year they lost their first game against Haran. They got to a semi final. You know, so no, listen, there'll be no panic buttons from Glenswilly. They'll know they're still there and it's still in their own hands. And when it's in your own hands, it's a good thing. I suppose a bit of work to be done now in the training pitch this week for Glenswilly, get things right, and I think we'll get things right for the weekend.
Yeah, the kind of team too, you can't give them an inch at all.
No,
like a couple of times, if Mark McGinty watches back that video this week, he'd be so frustrated. They gave away a couple of frees yesterday, and you're kind of thinking, right, that's a wee bit out of Murphy's range. But they're talking to the referee, then they just bring it under range, and he slots them over. You know, wee small things like that against a team that has a player like Murphy can make such a big difference.
They're cute, these Glenswilly boys, John.
Oh, nothing there. I was chatting about Jared last night, you know, and he says, they got out of jail. Jared McGrenna, he said, they were very lucky they didn't play well. And, you know, he made the point that if they were playing Milford this weekend, you know, he thought they'd be under pressure.
Yeah.
You know, because Milford, you know, in all fairness, are probably a better team than Four Masters, as we've seen. Like, Glenswilly will beat Four Masters, you know, at home. But, you know, if they had Milford this weekend, or even if they had Milford this weekend away, you know, it really would have put them under pressure. But, you know,
they have the comfort of the 2 home games,
and Four Masters, let's be honest, aren't going to trouble anyone. No. So you know,
could be set up for a big final day.
Could be set up for a big final day, exactly. So, you know, and if Glenfin beat Milford this weekend, I mean, Milford will have to beat Glenswilly in the last game. So it's all to play for in that group. So you know, there could be a twist and a turn yet, Charlie. You know.
Yeah. Chris spoke to Mark McGinty of Glenfin after the game yesterday just to get his view on it, and obviously having led by 5 points, they were disappointed they couldn't go on and win it.
Aye, look, I suppose it's the first game back senior championship, like, get something like Glenswilly and you'd be happy with a point, but I still feel it's a game we probably left behind us as well, you know.
Half time you were well in front, but probably could have been more ahead.
Aye, I think we were 4 up by, we probably could have been more ahead with a couple of chances. We squeezed a few balls on the far line when there wasn't on and stuff like that, you know. It's fine margins, like, in games like this, really, like.
Mark McGinty talking to Chris after the Glenfin-Glenswilly game. Group D, Francie, it's painful. And you've nobody to blame but yourself, I have to say, because you did tip Bundoran to come out of this group, and it looks as if that's exactly what they're going to do. I know it's difficult to talk about it when you're involved in it, but you made the point earlier on, home games so vital. And listen, take our hat off to Bundoran. The Burn Road's a hard place to come and win a championship match. Did they deserve to win it? Are you disappointed? I know you had a chance at the end maybe to get at least a draw out of it.
Very disappointed, Charlie. You know, we thought we did everything right, you know, and fairness, we missed 2 golden opportunities, goal chances, and there were 2 complete goal chances. We didn't take the goal chances and come back to haunt us, you know. Posing the plus side, welcome back Enda McCormick, and Enda McCormick got 9 points yesterday. He was just unbelievable, you know. It was good to have him back on board, you know. But just with Bundoran, you know, listen, Bundoran took the scores and they got their chances, and they won by a point, and you know, probably, you know, that's them probably in the quarter final now, because look, it's looking to a grim task for ourselves. We probably ourselves and Mal now fighting it for the whoever wins that game will be safe from the relegation down to intermediate. And you know, we're away to Kilcar in the last game, but listen, nobody's beat Kilcar over there so far, so like, you can't hang your hat on that either. So listen, it was a game there to be won, Charlie, you know, and we didn't want it, you know, and it's
when they're that close, they can go either way, really. I mean, that's an understatement, really, Francie, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely so. But I suppose from our thing, we did a lot of things right yesterday. We held Jamie Brennan to a point.
Yeah,
someone had told
I was
me
going to make that
game,
point to you. Yeah, because last week you were comparing Enda and Jimmy, maybe a shootout between the two of them.
Yeah.
Enda won that clearly, but Jimmy got better support perhaps from the rest of his teammates.
That's the thing. There were boys weighing in with 3 and 4 points, and we didn't have that either. And listen, we're missing Dara McDade too. Is a big miss for us too, and Terman can't be doing without players like Dara McDade. No, listen, I can't fault the boys' efforts, and it's just, but everybody, the players after themselves knows that we left it behind. But it's 2 golden opportunities and a goal in championship. Is a big score, and I think if we'd have got the goal, we'd have held out and won the game.
Yeah. Listen, credit to Bundoran. I saw them down Gweedore a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and they were terrible. Now, they were short players. Paul Brennan was there, Jimmy wasn't there, and there was other people missing, but I didn't think they'd won another game this year, John.
You said that
and suddenly they came back and got enough points to stay in Division 1, and now they went to Terman, and hard place to go. Gweedore have been beaten there, I remember, twice maybe in succession. So it's a great result, credit to them.
Well, it's a great result, Jared. I've said about Bundoran this last few years that, another team that if they get all their players on the pitch, they're big strong team and they could do damage. Now I know last year against Kilcar in the quarter final they weren't great, but on their day they've got a lot of potential, a lot of good players, and as you say, to go to the Burn Road and get a victory, it's not easy. You have to say fair play to them. Francie's obviously going to be disappointed with Terman. That was the game.
That was the key game. Yeah.
Now the only thing that might happen in that group, I don't know, Francie, is that if Kilcar beat Bundoran this weekend, could Kilcar rest 3 or 4 of their county players in the last game and maybe give...
They tend not to do that, don't they?
A fighting chance. Probably not.
Kilcar tend not to do that.
No, probably not. Then you wouldn't expect them to do. You want to keep the integrity of the championship group. But listen, that's their own prerogative. Terman might have a fighting chance. You have to hope.
Well, Terman will have to beat Malin next week and hope for something,
But I think on that, John, it's probably for Terman a good thing that they're playing. Like if Terman were coming out of yesterday and going to Townie this weekend, to try and lift yourself for that. But now they have a chance, with the greatest respect to Malin, it's if you had to pick one of the two, you would go up to Connolly Park.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in Malin last year, was it, Francie? Yeah. It was the worst Terman performance I've ever seen in my life. They were beaten out the pitch that night without really raising the roof at any stage in the game. So, and this is a relegation. This is a probable relegation situation game now for the two of them.
Yeah, and I suppose we're being disrespectful to Malin. You're right, Cherry. Let's face it. Like Malin, they're not going well, but we can't write them off. They're at home to Terman. So,
that's right. Yeah, just missed out in promotion, if you look at the bigger picture, Cherry, the boys on Twitter there over the weekend. I was at a game in Tyrone on Saturday up watching Killyclogher. And it's straight knockout, and people are asking, should it be knockout? But look what they say. The groups are great. Fantastic.
Some good games, and there's always something there. And even with the relegation side of it now, that really Terman and Malin, maybe if looking at relegation this weekend, someone has to win. So there's something to play for all the time, and it gives one game in a championship for your whole year to rest in one game, and maybe someone being suspended or injured. It's very unfair. So I think the group stages are good. It's a good
because even on those relegation things, like nobody wants to lose your senior status. So even say you lose 3 group games, you go in then to another 1, possibly 2 games of real championship battle with your kind of future for next year on the line. Like it really does. That adds to a great championship.
There's a further dimension to that people are arguing, but the debates on Twitter, Charlie, about you have Cloughanady Division 1 team against Sneed Breed and that there, but that's you're going to get wee things like that. You can't.
And lucky to beat them.
So you can't have it perfect, but I think we have a good enough setup at the minute.
Yeah. But it's a fine line. Like we won yesterday. We're chatting about a quarter final.
Exactly.
You're in the relegation. That's just and that's it. That's the good thing about fascination. There's always something to play for.
Yeah. One other game, Kilcar 3-16, Malin 7 points. Chris says it all really. I like Kilcar because they go out and they score what they can and they keep the opposition down to what they can as well. That's the way they play the game. So a very comfortable victory for them. And now they go into that game against Bundoran. That's an interesting game next week, Bundoran and Kilcar.
Yeah, I suppose one thing just on the Kilcar game, they don't seem to ever kind of take the foot off the gas at all. All the time going. I think they deserve credit for that. Because no matter who they're playing or what the score is, they sort of keep the feet down. It is an interesting one, but again, I think the fact they're at home in Townie, they're unbeaten there all year. They're unbeaten all year, league and championship.
Yeah.
They'll want to send out a wee message. They played 1-0 in the quarter final last year. Kilcar got over the line fairly comfortably. I think it's Kieran McCaughey still missing for Bundoran, been a big loss for them. Jimmy been held to a point yesterday, I think, was it Oisin Cassidy was on him, Francie. Great performance by Oisin to hold them, as Francie said, if I told them that last week. But Bundoran getting over the line in Termon, what that'll do for their confidence as well, because notoriously tough place to go. Bundoran have the players, but you still fancy Kilcar in the mood they're in and in the form they're in, the players they have. You'd expect them to get over the line this weekend again.
Right, let's look ahead then, boys. Just before we look at the intermediate situation, the two big games for me next weekend are both on Saturday. You can agree or disagree here. St Michael's against Gweedore and Milford against Glenfin. We had Bundoran against Termon this week and St Eunice against Gweedore. Are those the two big ones next week, Francie?
Definitely so. That's going to be a big game down the bridge, whoever probably wins that'll probably get out of the group, and then suppose St Michael's are home into Unions in the last game. If Gweedore get a result, they're away to Ardra in the last game. So that's a big game. But the Glenfin Milford game to me is very intriguing. We tight pitch down there in Milford, and Glenfin will be. They know themselves. They get a result there. They're in the next round as well, so a big thing for them, So two big games to look forward to on Saturday evening. I think they're going to be they're changing the times in them as well.
Well, we understand the Milford Glenfin game. Now, this is not official, but that's going to be an early afternoon 3:31. At the moment, St Michael's Gweedore, we think still at 6:30. Now that might change. Personal view of mine is we should keep our games at 6:30. People want to watch the All-Ireland, stay at home and watch it, because if you have a game on a Saturday afternoon at 3:30, I think you're cutting out a lot of people who would want to go to the game to see it,
Well, I would disagree in that. I think I'm just going, and I had this debate with a couple of people, I'm just going with Doon and Derry. Derry this week had a game at 2, a game at 4, a game at 6, a game at 8. If you're into football like we are, you want to get as many games as possible, and as for this week, I only got to we were playing ourselves, and I got to 2 other games. You want to try and get as many games of football because they're championship football and there's an edge to them, it's not like league football. So to me, I'd like the times to change.
Well, the way it is at the moment, you'll get to the big 2 if that's the case. You'll have to miss Dunlow and Neve Connell. John, just coming to those big games. Gweedore, if you were in the Gweedore camp now and you've been in the St Eunice camp and things have gone well and not so well, they'll be very disappointed with what happened yesterday. Now, we'll look for a big reaction from them. Will it either be a positive one or a negative one? Because we do know, whatever about St Michael's, and they've been disappointing in county finals, on their day, they can beat anybody.
Absolutely, Charlie. And there are plenty of St Michael's men at the match yesterday. So are St Michael's going to watch the St Eunice performance and say, listen, this is how we can frustrate this good Gweedore team that are Ulster champions?
Yes.
So, or are St Michael's going to say, listen, it's not in our DNA. We'll try a shootout with Colm and Christie and Daniel McLaughlin and these boys. So it's there for St Michael's. The template's there. In a week. Can they go ultra defensive or get a lot of men back? And the other thing is for Gweedore, if they're set up again, if a team comes at them again very defensive, how are they going to break it down? Because they weren't very effective at it yesterday. So a lot of work for Michael Boyle and Mervyn O'Donnell to do in Gweedore. And the other thing for O'Neill, the manager of
Gary O'Neill,
is what way does he go? Does he think, listen, St Eunice caused them a lot of bother by getting men back? Are we going to do the same, or are they going to stick to their guns maybe and go for more of a shootout? But fascinating game, Charlie, and big chance for St Michael's to maybe take a big scalp on it.
You love attacking football, Francie. Would you, if you were in the St Michael's camp now, would you have them racing up the pitch going gung ho?
No, I definitely
No surprise.
There's a surprise.
Listen. John says, the message was there yesterday to see how to set up against Gweedore. St Michael's wouldn't be ultra attacking either. They keep bodies back as well. So So there's a tight pitch in Milford and the bridge. Very tight pitch, and you can expect, depends, I suppose, on the weather as well and what kind of football. But listen, I still think it'll be intriguing, and St Michael's have a great chance, a great chance to get 2 points and put Gweedore under pressure and take a big scalp. But what St Michael's is going to turn up, that's the one we need to know.
The thing with Gweedore, the big question for me is how Gweedore approach this, because it's must win. Their season, their championships, Donegal and Ulster, on the line when they go. So do they go be a bit cagey and think, right, we can't give anything away here, or do they go and try and blitz St Michael's? For me, that's the big question. Fascinating for me how Gweedore approach this with everything that they've done and everything that they've won on the line.
Yeah. You were at the Glenfin game yesterday. They're going to Milford. Milford, hard to beat at home. and knowing that victory is going to more or less put them a foot and a half into the quarter final, that's going to be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, and they're coming in. Dara Black and Gary Merritt were on the bench at the weekend, bringing players to get back in. Glenfin, on the other hand, Kieran Brady suspended.
Big loss, yeah.
And you'd wonder, Jared Ward's hamstring, he was feeling it yesterday. You know, both teams probably coming looking at this big chance. Glenfin are going down and thinking, no, we're just up back into senior football again. There'd been a couple of semi-finals back over the last 10 or 12 years and that, and you know, they feel themselves they belong senior football, and they kind of, suppose, proved that yesterday. But going down to Milford are a different side at home. You know, they are a different side at home. The Cahill-McGettigan and the two Barretts going well. For me, Milford will go into this just ever so slight favourites with a home advantage. Those players to come back in the form that they showed, albeit, you know, Danny was just making the point to me yesterday, I met him in Letterkenny, that they weren't great, but it was just a matter, it was a banana skin game, getting over the line and again coming out of it clean and just moving on to the following week.
Okay, just to confirm the fixtures for next week, and we'll have to give you times because that could be switched about for Saturday. It's it's St Michael's against Gweedore in Group A. Group B, Dunlow against Neath Connell. And Group C, that Milford Glenfin game. Keep an eye for the throw-in time. Sunday then, Group A, St Eunan's against Ardra. Group B, it's Killybegs against McCool's. Group C, Glenswally for Masters. And then in Group D, Bundoran, Kilcar and Malin, Termon. Just briefly looking at the Intermediate Championship. Fascinating stuff here, guys. Group A, Cloughaneely got a late goal. I think it was Darren Ferry scored a late goal. They beat Niamh Breed, John, by 3-7 to 2-8. Very, very tight. And the other game in that group, Niamh Ulton, 14 points, Red Hughes, 15 points. So those two matches won by a point. And next week, you have Red Hughes playing Cloughaneely. So that's in Group A. Group B then, very tight as well. Niamh Wora and Rua from Ballyshannon played out a draw. St Knowles beat Downings by a point. And then in Group C, Neath Columba had a 2-point away victory in Burt, and Neath Columkill, the most comfortable winners of the weekend, they had 4 points to spare over Fanet Gales. And next week, the two teams who won away yesterday are at home. Neath Columkill to Burt in a big derby match, Neath Columba against Fanet Gales. Shows you how tight that Intermediate Championship. You said this last week,
yeah. I just look at it. But the other thing is that Cloughaneely, as I said, like a comfortable team in Division 1, can nearly get turned over by a Division 3 team, Niamh Breed, and Niamh Breed were away. So, like, fascinating stuff. Ballyshannon were a kick of a ball away from getting promoted to Division 1.
That's right.
Dave Were have gone down to Division 4, and yet they play out a draw.
Yeah.
So,
Niamh Ulton relegated and only beaten by a point by Red Hughes. It's the beauty of the championship, and teams have something to play for, and if teams are getting up for the championship, and on the day anything's possible. But like, intriguing stuff, Jerry, when you think of that. There should be such a gap between some of them teams, but in actual fact, when it comes together in the heat of the championship, there's only kicking the ball on it. You were in the middle of this last year with Cloughaneely, Francie. No, this will not surprise you how tight these games were.
Them games, like I'm telling you, like as I said, you're the big boy from Division 1 to play the Division 3 team, and they're so up for it. It's unbelievable. And like the game goes down, they bring it down to their level, and it's just hard to get up for it, and they're just tackling for every ball. And listen, it's very competitive. That Intermediate Championship, whoever wants it this year, they'll earn it, Yeah.
Chris, you want to pick a winner out of the Intermediate Championship?
No, I think I'll pass for another week on that.
We'll leave that. Those matches next week as well, some very, very tight matches. Just the Junior A Championship, Niamh Podrick and Narossa played out a high scoring draw, 18 points to 212. Buncrana, the favourites for everybody, beat Cairndonagh very, very comfortably at 220 to 19. Group C, Letterkenny Gales, they got promotion, of course. They're looking good. They beat Niamh Podrick from Muff 212 to 10 points. And in the other game, Convoy, a team to watch as well in the Junior Championship, had a 14 points to 6 victory over Robert Emmets. The other big game of the weekend was the ladies' final. We looked forward to it here last week. We spoke about a certain Geraldine McLaughlin and how influential she could be on this game. It was a cracker of a game. Chris was there. 5-6 to 2-13. That translates into 21 points to 19 in Termon's favour. Geraldine McLaughlin, Chris, 4 goals and 5 points.
Yeah, I tweeted something, I think it was last night or this morning. I was thinking before I come up here, geez, have a wee think about that again before you repeat yourself. But no, it was one of the best individual performances I've ever watched on a football pitch. No joke. The stage it was on, the pressure she was under. I mean, there were 4 players marking her, Charlie.
Yeah.
And the 4 players marking her for the 4th goal. She takes the ball, wins the ball, surges past the four of them and puts the ball into the back of the net. It was, as I said to you about another game she played a couple of weeks ago, it was a special performance from a special player. You know, Katie Haran got a goal a few minutes from the end, and you were thinking, right, Glenfin going to have the edge here. Geraldine just strikes, gets one ball, wins a penalty, scores it, gets the next ball, scores a goal. You know, to score 4 or 5 in any level in the county final, it's unbelievable. I think the one big thing for me and Geraldine McLaughlin, again, something that threw up on Twitter last night, I just find it unbelievable that she doesn't have an all-star at this stage. With all she's done for club and county over the last decade or thereabouts, it's bizarre, really. But no, the performance yesterday, you know, and it's as I said, it's a decent after the game. You know, it's unfair sometimes to single out a player, but you know, when you're coming with scores like that. But the big performances, Evelyn McGinley was very, very good at full back on Katie Hearn. Maya Alcorn had a big performance coming back from the rugby and stuff. But you know, it was really all about Geraldine yesterday.
Big result for the club, Francie, because it surprised me. Termon hadn't won it for a few years.
2015 since they won it last. But in fairness, they put in, like, the last couple of years they've been playing in finals, but they have put no real effort into it, you know. And this year they put in an effort, like suppose the loss of Danny O, you know, as well, kind of drove the thing on as well, you know. And Danny O was a big advocate of ladies football, you know, and really kind of drove it on in the club, you know. And we was chatting about it during the week, like Geraldine McLaughlin, she's a savage player, you know, and like she's no all-star, but I don't know what you have to get these all-stars, like, you know, she single-handedly, and nobody will disagree that, you know, she won Termon All-Ireland in 2014, like 3-8 in the final.
And she had such an influence on Donegal, winning 3 Ulster titles there, like, you know. Yeah,
that's the thing about it, you know, and you'll be wondering how these all-stars are picked, but listen, Geraldine will not face Geraldine, she'll be looking forward to now the next game, and in fairness to her, that's a credit to her. She's never all about herself, or she's not like that. It's all about team with her, you know, and listen, Ulster now, that's where they go now, and see how they get on that.
Some talent, John.
Unbelievable, Cherry. You know, I know Chris was tweeting about it last night, and I was hitting back about the Venny in '99 with his 14. I said to Chris was probably too young to remember that, Cherry, but no.
99.
You know,
I'm surprised the Venny wasn't hitting back himself.
No, Geraldine, and as Chris said, like 3 and 4 players marking at a time. That's what I was going to say. Chris, you know, obviously we couldn't see the match, but like what way were Glenfin setting up, and then you said there first thing 4 people around. They're like, it's phenomenal, you know what I mean? Maybe Glenfin might need to get a rugby coach in and maybe know how to pull her down and give away a few points.
She's hard to pull down.
But just the other thing about it, I mean, that she got a wrap yesterday during the second half, and as many as another player would have been off. But she just shrugged. It's almost that she becomes used to it. Like, she does get serious bit of attention. But the other thing about her performance yesterday was when Termon needed her to go to the trenches and come out and win ball and come out and work hard and work dirty out kind of and around the half back line. She's out doing that too. That's not beyond her. It's not just to say that she's the star forward that scores. She actually mucks in and does the dirty work as well.
That's the sign of a great player.
Absolutely.
And Charlie, probably we shouldn't go without giving the main man himself a bit of praise, Sean the Decent, because he'll not forgive me if I don't give him a bit of praise. So
I would say he's giving. I wasn't there when I would say he's giving himself enough praise.
Exactly.
Don't you worry, well.
But the pressure's on him now to go. Can he match Francie and Trevor and try and bring an Ulster title and maybe go a bit further? So we'll keep the pressure on him.
Absolutely.
We won't give him too much praise.
Well, Geraldine does all her talking on the pitch. She's not the greatest one at talking off. She usually shies away from microphones and cameras and all that sort of thing. But Chris managed to get a word with her after the game yesterday, and she basically said how much winning this championship means to the Termon ladies.
Oh, it means absolutely everything. You see in the crowd today in the sport, like, it means absolutely everything to us, but it means everything to them as well. Like, so to get it back, it's just, we knew it was going to be a tight game. Like, maybe just 2 weeks ago with 4 points, we knew we'd left it today, and by God we did.
That was one tough game.
Very tough. Like, it was right to the end. Like, it was only a point in it. Like, so we always knew it was going to be tight. Like, and once again, it was against Glenfin.
Geraldine McLaughlin there. I want to thank Kellys Centra at the Mountaintop here for their support. They're sponsoring our look ahead and look back to the championships. And John, we were just looking at some stats, and I'm just going to throw these at you. 8 matches played in the senior championship, a total of 245 points were scored if you add the goals with the points, and that's an average of 30.6 a match. If you take away the highest, which was the McCool's Dunlow game, and the lowest, which was the Gweedore St Eunan's game, it's 30.5, so very little difference there. If you take away the highest score, it's 27.85, and if you take away the lowest score, it's 33.3. So not a bad weekend's work in terms of the averages for the games.
No, very competitive, Jerry, and you know, probably, the Gidor game in St John's maybe let a few people down, but hopefully this weekend we can have more good games and maybe a few more tighter games, and them big games with or with St Michael's and Gidor and Milford and Glenfern, as we say, the two ones we're looking forward to. So plenty of good football hopefully to look forward to again this weekend. Saturday.
Anybody want to change their predictions in terms of who'll make the quarter-finals? You all know who you said. Francie was right about one, or looks as if he was right about one anyway, when he agreed with you two boys about Bundoran and Kilcar. Anybody? I'll give you an opportunity. No? All happy with your predictions?
You have to be happy enough, Terry, because we'll know this weekend, but I'm still going for Kellybegs, so they'll have to beat McCool's this weekend, and Bundoran got over Termon, so that kind of leaves them in the driving seat. And
have St Michael's moved up a wee bit? They were third in the pecking order in the group of death. Have they gone up, or are they still there with all to do? If there had been a loser in Gidor yesterday, and with their scoring difference,
possibly might have helped them, Terry. But even if St Michael's beat Gidor,
no, they're still not through.
They're still not through, because St John's were always going to have to, from a St John's point of view, we felt, all right, we mightn't beat Gidor, but it's all going to come down to the last game anyway. So the only thing, Terry, that it means possibly is that a draw could do St John's on the last day against St Michael's, because St John's hopefully will go on to 4 points, where a draw for St Michael's, if Gidor beat them, would only do them on 3. So
you know what it's a bit like? It's a bit like Donegal drawing with Kerry.
Yes,
and then still having to beat Mayo, whereas if they beat Kerry, they were through.
It's funny, because it changes nothing in terms of how St John's have to approach, because they still have to go and win the next 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. All right, lads, thanks again to Kellys Centra, the mountaintop, for their support. We really appreciate it. Thanks to John Haran, Francie, Friel and Chris McNulty for joining me yet again. We will be back next week, and maybe next week we'll have a much better idea of teams having reached the quarter-finals. Thanks for joining us. Donegal Sport Hub, Donegal Daily Championship Podcast. Brought to you in association with Kellys Centra, multi-award-winning store, Mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service 7 days a week.